At the very start of every competition, before the lights and the fandom, there is something truly beautiful. A group of people united in passion, pushing the game they love to its limits in the hopes that one day their dreams will be realized. It's a path esports fans are all too familiar with.
Since I was 12, 13, my plan was to be an esports athlete.
But in the pursuit of every great competition, there is a darker side to the journey. Every competition worth watching can be bought, and when the money starts flowing, so do the bets. This is the story of matches thrown and careers lost. The story of what happens when the dark underbelly of professional competition rears its ugly head. A story of kids who messed up and paid the ultimate price, and an industry that persevered. This is the story of match fixing in esports. As long as you've been able to place a bet on a pro game of any kind, there's been match fixing. And fixing a match happens just as it sounds. Someone has a vested interest in a game having a specific outcome, and then pressures the players or parties involved to manipulate the game in order to ensure that outcome is realized. This often ends in the players throwing the game, to capitalize on bets they themselves made or for payment from those organizing the fix. The bottom line is that the boundaries of competition are broken down so that people can make money. And it's been happening for a long time. In fact, let's go back to 1919. Eight members of the Chicago White Sox baseball team were accused of intentionally losing the World Series in order to get paid off by a gambling syndicate. The biggest stage in one of the world's most established professional sports was corrupted by match fixing. Once their plan was uncovered, all 8 players received lifetime bans, and Major League Baseball hired its first commissioner to step in and put out the fire.
Judge Landis delivered his verdict on the 8 Black Sox the day after they were acquitted.
Regardless of the verdict of juries, no player that throws a ball game, no player that promises to throw a ball game will ever play professional baseball.
The baseball world was sent reeling, and it took years for it to recover. The Chicago Black Sox, as they've eventually become known, would go down as a symbol of an era ripe with corruption. It's similar to another era, 91 years later, in a world where ball gloves were put down in place of a mouse and keyboard. In 2010, the esports scene was a far cry from the franchised, commodified world we know today. But it was growing, and that growth was fueled by passion and love for games like Warcraft and Starcraft. And nowhere was this more apparent than in South Korea, where Starcraft Brood War reigned supreme. Players like Flash and Jaedong attracted large audiences and media attention. It felt like there was nowhere to go but up. But with that attention came corruption. 2010 marked the first massive match-fixing scandal in esports history. On June 9th, 11 members of the professional Brood War world were found guilty of fixing matches in South Korea. In the same vein as the infamous Black Sox 91 years earlier, these players were approached by Korean gambling organizations that offered them financial gain in exchange for throwing games. And a community member by the name of Wax Angel posted to TeamLiquid.net after rumors that Korean players were throwing matches first surfaced.
At the time, it was super shocking when the match fixing scandal broke in Brood War, not just because it was match fixing, but it was because it was so players. And not only was it 11 mid-tier players, it involved Savior, who was at the time, I want to say top 5 greatest player of all time.
On April 10th, 2010, another TL user named RecRule posted about the rumors as well, and later allegedly paid locals with knowledge of the fixing to discuss the scandal. On May 16th, 2010, the news everyone had been waiting for finally broke.
먹고 있어가지고 그러긴 하다만 참 침통하다.
얼마나 e스포츠가 10여 년의 어떤 역사를 함께 해오면서 또 아직도 발전해야 해야 될 게 너무나도 많은데 난 뭐 한순간에 정말 동료들한테, 팬들한테, e스포츠와 함께하는 관계자들한테 이런 식으로 비수를 들이대나?
11 players were banned from Korean Esports Association or KESPA tournaments, fined, and some even faced jail time. And amongst them was a young Bonjour. Not quite at the level of Flash or Jaedong, but someone known for his strategic mastery and creative gameplay. Nicknamed the Maestro, Ma Savior Jae-yoon was among those 11 players that were banned.
경기 끝나고 나서 리플레이를 딱 트니까 그걸 보고 다 경악을 했죠.
난 왜 그래? 나는 처음에 그 기사가 나오고 나서는 우리가 뭐 뒷담화 때도 그래, 그래도 검찰 수사 때까지 한번 기다려보자 이런 마음이었지만 정말 검찰 수사 결과가 각종 언론과 매체에서 발표가 되면서 분노를 금할 수가 없었고 지금은
In an era where Starcraft was leading the charge to cement esports legitimacy, 11 of its players were cast into darkness. Overnight, professional Brood War became worldwide news, but not for the reasons fans had hoped for. And many saw the scandal as a massive step backwards for a young, up-and-coming industry.
내가 이렇게 좀 뒤로 이제 생각도 많이 하고 있었고요. 그러니까 걔네가 딱 들어있는 거니까 그 뭐랄까 그러니까 막 오히려 이제 막 펄펄 뛰게 안 되는 이런
너무 슬퍼도 눈물이 안 나오는 법이지. 이 사태 심각성을 몰라요.
It wasn't just Starcraft where fixing was taking place either. That same year, there were accusations thrown at Mewtwo King, one of the best Smash players in the world, who allegedly threw a match to a friend in order to manipulate the prize system and make $300. And then in 2012, MLG didn't award a first or second place finish to any team at their Summer Champs League of Legends event after they found out Team Curse and Dignitas colluded to swing the results of the finals.
All 5 members of both teams are running out the mid lane. We see a boot start. Pretty standard items here. Not really sure what to make of it.
Cop does manage to get the shot. Crumbs takes him down though. Crumbs, that well-known AD player on that top lane. St. Vincent's will get dropped. Crumbs taking too much damage off the tower. They've got to be careful. They're feeding Varus. If this was the real rules, they couldn't go and buy now, and they have bought. You know, you would have Aram players going crazy there that they suicide on towers and buy. Yeah, indeed.
All right, I'm showing my noobness then.
Yeah, but I love the fact that you are trying to analyze an Aram. And Dignitas take game 1. And what a strange game it was indeed. 85-66, 31 minutes gone. Thanks for making me cast an Aram, guys.
Both teams were disqualified and no prize money was awarded.
They came in there and like, did you guys think this was funny? You know, like this is some kind of joke? You know, do you think this is fun? And I was like, well, it is a game. I'm trying to have fun. You know, like that's the only reason I play games. And whatever. I'm too much of a troll, I guess.
Just as these esports scenes all over the world were trying to grow, these scandals were black marks on their upward trajectory. Just a year later, an instance of match fixing would plague another growing esports scene. While on a much smaller scale, Rox Kaspersky's Alexei Solo Berezin intentionally threw a match against Z-Rage at the tail end of Star Series Season 6.
Welcome to this last game of this group stages for Star Series Season 6.
Solo had placed a bet against his own team prior to the match and made sure his team would lose.
They actually want to try to go in with this. BCZ, he was already very low to begin with. 3 seconds set up on Solo as well. They just run in here to die. What's it with that?
I don't want to say it's impossible for Rox to come back, but he's so dead. Why is he standing there?
I don't know.
Rough. That's rough. So skill thing was part of that plan, but
Solo's gonna deny himself to neutrals, I think, if he can.
It's not gonna happen.
What's most memorable about this situation is that Solo would have only pocketed $322 had he not been caught. Despite the memes, the community obviously reacted negatively to the news, and Valve held a briefing at TI4, making it clear that anyone involved in match fixing going forward would be banned for life. In fact, that infamously small sum of money has lived on in Dota 2 history. To this day, when someone is playing poorly in Dota, it's referred to as a 3-2-2, in reference to that incident.
Making it work! Can they kill him off? Silent for the Visage. Ramsey is gonna die! We're dead forever! Maybe found his moment. He baited out that black hole flawlessly.
Imagine playing so badly, the entirety of Twitch chat thinks you're throwing the game. Solo ultimately received a 1-year ban from StarLadder as a consequence for his actions. But his story illustrates something much larger than that of one match against Z-Rage. In 2013, making a living as a pro gamer was almost impossible. So while that $322 in retrospect might not seem like a lot, times were tough. There was no rule book for how to deal with incidents of this nature back in 2013, but Valve eventually weighed in and a small ban was the result. But of course, esports held strong. Over the course of the next 5 years, the community grew exponentially. New games cropped up and their professional scenes continued to develop. In 2014, Dota 2's The International offered more than $10 million in prizing.
3-1 the victory, over $5 million. Won by Xiao Wei and the crew. Sunsheng, Hal, Banana and Moo. They are your champions.
The League of Legends World Championship peaked at more than 11 million concurrent viewers across 40 different viewing platforms.
Just what an extraordinary World Championship Samsung White has had.
And here of all places, well, what a place to do it, in a packed World Cup stadium here in Seoul.
And Counter-Strike Global Offensive had become the premier FPS esport and cultivated a captivating viewer experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, 16-13, it finally happens.
After nearly a year, 2 second-place finishes, Nip finally claimed the title. They are the champions! Gamescom 2014!
Esports was growing. Its fans were multiplying. But as we would soon find out, it wouldn't be able to escape the grip of those looking to throw everything away for a quick buck. As esports growth was being celebrated around the globe, one of the most famous instances of match fixing happened. During the first half of 2014, Ibuypower's CSGO team were viewed by many as one of North America's first opportunities to break into the upper echelon of CS. They possessed one of the most phenomenal young talents the world had ever seen in Swag.
Looking for the kill, turns around, great shot on Flusher, goes for JW, gonna pick him off as well. Great round from Swag so far. Now a 1-on-2 and Swag, oh my god.
Another talented young player in Skadoodle.
Yeah. What he does with the AWP is unholy. Like, it should not be allowed, basically. He's on the fast track to hell.
And a mastermind in Steel.
There's Steel, who's been the criminal mastermind of the IBP team so far.
They looked to be one of NA's brightest hopes, a team that could compete with Europe's best on the international stage. That is, until one game against netcodeguides.com on August 20th, 2014. IBP were massive favorites in what was by all accounts a meaningless CEVO Pro match. But despite the odds, netcodeguides.com demolished Ibuypower.
Are they really just going to wait the timeout right now? Is this really happening? Oh, Skadoodle! So. Skadoodle, why would... I don't understand. JDM with a 3K, that will be a 7th round for Netcode Guides, but you just watched your teammate get op from J, but you walk out with the bomb and try to plant it. FNS is holding the site against Steel, though. Bomb plant in the A bomb site. CT's trying to retake. There goes Hayes. Daze gets one. And then Swag gets traded out right there. So now all we have left alive is Daze in the J-Hall. He's going to get dropped on. JDM ends up getting the shot. 3K for FNS. Only kills on CT side Ibuypower were Dazed and Swag. Flash goes off. They know where he is now. Makes a shot. And Tariq shuts it down. Netcode Guides beating Ibuypower on season.
IBP didn't just get beat. They were outmatched in almost every way. Their buys were perplexing.
Look at this. They're actually doing a strange buy here. They're going for a round 2 surprise buy.
They played with an uncharacteristic level of passiveness and just looked like a shell of their former selves. In the wake of that match, esports reporter Richard Lewis accused the team of match fixing the next day in an article. The article cited screenshots between Shazam, who is a member of Denial Esports, and an anonymous person on Steam.
I hit up my friend who also bets on these teams, and I know he's an Everhive fanboy. I'm like, yo, like, listen, like, just...
So just to clarify, this is the guy that you were talking to, right, on Steam, the screenshots?
This is the guy I was talking to on Steam now. Okay. Now, like, the first guy, like, I'm not going to throw him under the bus or anything, he was just talking about the match. And I'm like, this makes sense, you know, they already have a CEVO playoff spot. So I hit up my friend with the screenshots. This guy's a real-life friend of mine that goes to my school. Like,
which is going to be really awkward next time you see him.
One of IBP's players, Dazed, was one of the owners of Netcode Guides' website.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Dazed from netcodeguides.com.
but since has claimed that he had nothing to do with the way the CSGO team was run.
We sponsor them, but like, I never deal with them, you know. I play and I do
deal with
content.
like a different part of the website.
Exactly, like I do the content on the website and things like that. Like that's like completely separate than what I deal with, you know, like Casey. Like I literally never talk to anybody on that team.
Dazed and Steel denied throwing the match for months.
Did we ever throw a match? Nope.
But in November of 2014, they were removed from Ibuypower's roster despite their strong tournament results.
Like, you guys have no idea how hard I prepared for these tournaments, man. Like, you guys, I seriously watched, like, I probably watched, like, 30 hours of demos, you know? And that might not seem like a lot, but it is, like, the most boring thing in the world to just sit there and watch and take notes after notes after notes after notes.
In the short time after some of their best performances, they removed both of their in-game leaders in Steel and Dazed, a move that was just downright strange.
They lost both their callers. They lost Steel and Dazed.
Yeah.
How
is the in-game leader now, isn't he?
I mean, but that's crazy. You just lost both guys who are essentially like the alpha males of the team. The guys who like lead them forward to victory, who call the strats, who do the research, watch all the demos. They're gone. They're gone. Now they're in talks. So it's going to be really interesting. As good as Nitro and Desi may or may not be,
they're talented players, yeah.
That's the thing.
They're good players. They're good players. They're very good players. They've got
a lot of talent, a lot of skill.
They need somebody to lead the way.
That initial article didn't make quite the impact you might have expected it to, but further evidence popped up on an ESEA forum, revealing text messages that verified that a fix had occurred. On January 16, 2015, Lewis published a follow-up article. Ibuypower had thrown the match in order to win money skin betting on CSGOLounge.com.
Bro, when you played against Ibuypower when they threw, were you like, what the fuck is this shit?
No, dude, I was feeling
You're
it. I was all over that shit. I was literally like that. Me and Josh were like that. Like, we were giving ourselves credit and shit and like talking about this is our comeback into the scene. But Finesse called the throw. He literally said like right after the game, these guys 100% threw that. But I was like, dude, you're fucking crazy.
This whirlwind of screenshots and shady dealings proved that it was all true. Ibuypower had thrown the match in order to win money skin betting on CSGOLounge.com. They used a middleman who set up the bets for them.
It was like a decision that took us like 2 minutes to make, and we just had no idea about the repercussions. Like, we came back from Europe, the team was like really dead at that point. Like, we were like talked about it, and we weren't gonna like resign contracts. And like Steele told me he was gonna leave. He told everyone he was gonna leave the team. We were like, yeah, we're probably not gonna resign contracts. We'll just play out the year, and then figure it out from there. And then, you know, all of us are friends with D-Warren, and he basically was like, yeah, dude, just do it. You know, he's like brought up the idea, and we were just like, all right, fuck it. Like, literally all of us were just like, all right, fuck it, what do we have to lose?
And 10 days after Lewis's second article was published, Valve released a blog post titled Integrity and Fair Play. In it, Valve announced that all 7 people involved with the scandal were permanently banned from Valve-sponsored events.
Ooh, we have some interesting information.
Interesting info.
It looks as though some pro players have been banned by Volvo.
Ooh.
Okay. Let's say this in short. Altogether, the information we have collected and received makes us uncomfortable continuing any involvement with these individuals. Therefore, we will be directing our CSGO event partners to not allow any of the following individuals' participation in any capacity in Valve-sponsored events. Could, Deborn, Casey Foster, Dazed, Swag, AZK, Steel, R.I.P. Ladies and gentlemen, R.I.P.
And many third-party tournament organizers followed suit. The only player who made it out unscathed was Skadoodle, although there are conflicting reports on why Valve felt confident leaving him unbanned. To this day, the Ibuypower scandal has gone down in esports history as one of the most public, messy, and star-studded stains on the game's otherwise illustrious history.
What happens if we get caught? Like, nothing. Like, we really didn't. It was just it was like you said, a very impulsive decision. But I mean, I could completely understand why there's so much hate about it. It really just ruins the integrity of the game. My thought process throughout it, and I'm sure my teammates were the same, it wasn't ruining the integrity of the game. It was exploiting a gambling site.
There are still cries for the removal of Swag's ban, as many wish that the young prodigy got to fulfill his true potential.
Free Swag! Free Swag! Free Swag! Free Swag! Free Braxton! Free Braxton! Free Braxton! All the best, Swag. Someday, man, they will free you and you will be like a bear. flying in the air, man. And everyone want to get you in the team, brother. All the best, Swag.
We've seen a few glimpses of that Ibuypower roster's potential. Both Steel and Swag have played in third-party events since their bans and have shown that they still have the talent they were once known for. Swag in particular has shown flashes of brilliance, and the cries for him to be freed from his ban have not been silenced, even 5 years removed.
They pre-fire the angle, I mean, they pick you apart. It's what Swag did best. Free Brax.
And just last year, we watched Skadoodle and the rest of Cloud9 hoist a major trophy, the first time an American team had ever done so in one of the scene's greatest underdog stories.
I don't really have much words to say, as you know. I'm not crying, you're crying, stop.
There are many who believe these permanent bans were heavy-handed and that Valve should give these players a chance at redemption.
And I think it's a very sad history that he can't compete anymore. For me, it's a little bit too harsh for what happened and for being the first time it ever happened. I understand the consequences, understand how hard it was and how serious what they did was.
Even Lewis himself reflects with a heavy heart about his role in the matter.
And fixing one meaningless game in CEVO, I don't want to break it to anybody, it's not, a life ban isn't fair. I don't believe that. I didn't sign up for that. And I shouldn't have to feel guilty because of that punishment.
But this time, Valve made a point about match fixing, that anyone involved would be banned for life.
Valve's not going to listen to me because I'm that fucking scum who did wrong by the community, and there's nothing I can do to fix that. I would do community service, fucking do work for charities, I would donate to charities, I would give up all my prize fucking winnings to charities, I would do all that shit so I could go through a rehabilitation. I fucked up, I did bad, I'm willing to do fucking good, but I don't have that opportunity. So Valve's not they're not gonna listen to me, they don't give a fuck about me, they're done with me, that's it, it's the end. It was brought to their attention that I did wrong, they said we're not dealing with this, fuck him for life, done, there's nothing I can do. I have this negative stigma attached to me for the rest of my life. There's no good I can do that will fix it.
A stance they doubled down on when they banned all of Aero Gaming's Dota 2 team for life in the wake of Esports' next scandal.
Cực kỳ hồ báo, vâng, có book mà giáp rồi đi về, vâng, plasma field cực kỳ thấm. Này tôi phải cắn mình có nhấc lên phía group bàn phía A mà quả này lên luôn bảng. Freedom kết thúc được cái killing spree của Win. Trong cái đó ở mid Razor, vâng, lại một lần nữa bắn ngược cực lại nhưng mà câu đôi đã cố gắng chạy đi. Anh đi ở dưới xong một pha vào sau đó double kill cho AM khi giết được Freedom rồi. Bây giờ tiếp tục cố gắng for câu Razor, quyết định bật Win ra để quay trở lại AM, quay trở lại quẩy tiếp là triple kill cho Chains.
To this day, it seems these IBP players will never play in another Valve event.
In terms of the bans being too harsh, I mean, it's hard to say because I think, you know, we haven't had any like super high profile teams throwing for skins. So in a way it's done its job. On the other hand, you know, you would like to see those guys have had a second chance, maybe like 1 or 2 years off. That really set North American Counter-Strike back, you know, probably at least a year and a half. I mean, the fact that you lose some of the most experienced players, we lost 2 of our top 3 in-game leaders. That was a huge blow that took a long time for this scene and this community to recover from.
Esports has come a long way, but there was still a mountain to climb to release itself from controversies like this one. From the ashes of Brood War came Starcraft 2, a reinvented version of the game with a burgeoning esports scene housed primarily in South Korea. Despite the success of League, Dota, and CS in the West, Starcraft was still one of Korea's most popular esports. And at the peak of that popularity was Lee Life Sung-hyun, who in 2015 was the best Starcraft 2 player on the planet.
Beautiful force field. The Hydra's beginning to slip around and hit the Immortals less impactful since there are not a lot of roaches, but the Warp Prism warping. Oh! Beautiful move, taking to the Warp Prism.
He gets us around the Lings.
Wow!
They're holding
what
up.
Control!
Holy crap!
Life. What on earth are you? Not human, that's for damn sure.
So many Bailings are possibly going to connect to these SCVs. Oh, they are chasing them right back up into the mineral line. This could be huge. They're so clumped. Oh my God! Oh, so many SCVs. Life evens it out.
He was one of the most dominant and widely adored players in the StarCraft 2 era, and he watched it all slip through his fingers. In October of 2015, the Special Investigations Unit of the Changwon Regional Prosecution Services released details of match fixing in StarCraft 2.
So somehow
one of the various district courts in Korea, prosecutors there, they decided they would investigate matchfixing in esports. They went into it and they discovered really a terrible matchfixing ring.
The report cited arrests of multiple mid-tier SC2 players who, alongside 4 middlemen and 2 financial backers, were arrested in conjunction with the incident. KESPA banned them all for life. As with Savior and Swag, StarCraft 2's greatest star was banned, and worse, arrested.
Now we have in StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, we have Savior, Life, 2 of the most popular players of all time, getting caught up in match fixing, and it's just like it's such a moral blow.
But this time, it wasn't just a fine or a ban from professional play. This time, an esports match-fixing scandal resulted in a judge ruling for prison time.
When they say Life went to jail was he never served jail time as part of the sentence. He was detained, not as a punishment, but detained somewhat as you would detain someone who was like a flight risk or whatever, during a trial. So he was detained, but he was not it was not part of his punishment to be. But yes, he was detained for 2 odd months, according to him.
In the years since that last major scandal in South Korea, esports has underwent a metamorphosis. The League of Legends scene has transformed into a world of fully franchised leagues, massive sponsorship deals, and a world of career players, not just quick cash grabs. And now we have the Overwatch League, where teams are representing entire cities and massive holdings groups are dropping millions to compete for a slot in the league. It looks and it feels and it sounds like the dream has been legitimized. But here, we've told you the story of how we got here, under the lights and the gaze of millions. A story of a time when the next paycheck wasn't always guaranteed, and the sharks were circling, trying to find a way to make a quick handful of cash in a world of young kids clicking on heads. And that sometimes shady past has become clear.
Oh my God!
Wherever there is the highest level of competition, there is money to be made. And it's a true testament to the strength of the esports world that we're here now, unscathed.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content just like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button.